everyone. My name is Vernisa.
Hey, y'all. This is Jen.
And this is our podcast, Speak Up. What's up, Jen?
Hey, girl.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Glad we made it to episode 53.
Oh, my gosh. 53.
Yes, y'all. It's flying. For those of you that don't know, me and Jen are best friends, and we created this podcast to use our voices to motivate people to overcome life challenges through self-love and respect.
Self-love and respect. Even when we're 53, that's going to be our thing.
Right. So today, our title is the tea real?
Ooh, wish I had some tea to actually sip to that.
Yeah, we always sipping some tea, but is it real though?
Right, that part. And that's the thing, you know, it's not the kind of tea of like gossip or nothing like that. You want to tell them what the T stands for?
Trust.
Ooh, that's right. That's a word we don't take loosely. It's a word that, you know, really should be more careful when we use it towards somebody and just in general in life. And it's something that's super important because nowadays it's hard to trust people, you know, with this whole trust issues thing and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it's a good thing to really reflect on and realize, like, is the trust real, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like trust is important to talk about too because it goes with our mental health because it's like, who do you trust, who not to trust? And sometimes it's unhealthy to not trust at all. So I feel like we have to debunk a lot of those factors today with this episode.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I guess we can get into what is trust in the first place. And I'm sorry, I don't have my Google definition pulled up today. But trust is basically like giving credibility to either the person, the statement, you know, and kind of allowing that to either be some sort of guide or something that you just kind of take with you. So that's kind of how I would define it, just giving that credibility and then using it as that guide.
Yeah, I'm gonna just leech off of that as trust. And I feel like anybody is capable of breaking your trust. So I feel like it can, and I think that's what gets us is that we be thinking, oh, that's one of my close friends, one of my family members, you know, they would never. And it's like you have to have your eyes, your ears, your mind open for that too, because anybody can break your trust at any moment. And I think that's really the biggest the parts we're talking about in this episode.
Yeah, for sure. You know, just kind of going off of that, like knowing that even when someone breaks your trust, you don't have to trust them again. Even if they are family, friends, like Bernice was saying, you have history with them, you've known them forever, whatever, like it doesn't matter. You can't, because trust is very delicate, you know, it's kind of like a vase. Like once you break that vase, you could put it back together and stuff with glue, super glue, whatever, Gorilla Glue, you know, all that stuff.
Oh,
but
Lord.
At the end of the day, like, you'll still be able to see the cracks. So trust is kind of the same way, where even if you're working your hardest to repair it and stuff, you know, it's like some of that scarring is still going to be there. At least that's my personal opinion. Like when someone loses my trust, that's it. You know, I know we've talked about this before, but yeah, like for me, it's really hard for me to trust somebody in the first place, and for me to consider you someone trustworthy and someone I can really confide in, but then you betray me like that, like, I'm sorry, it's just not going back.
Yeah, and I'm going to say too, there's a difference between trusting somebody again and forgiving them. And I think that's a notion that we have mixed up, because someone could break your trust and then they'd be like, oh, you don't trust me again, and then, you know, but it's like, I could forgive you and I want to fuck with you again. Doesn't mean I have to trust you, but I could like accept your apology and like, you know, mutually agree, especially like if you're my family or something like that. But I just know, okay, I won't trust you with certain information about me anymore. I won't, you know, give you that credibility because you already broke it, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like the person who did the betraying, you can't be mad at that person, you know, because in the day, let's be real, if that happened to them, they'll be on that same wavelength. And I think the question it asks too is, are we trustworthy? You know, and I think, you know, you working on your own trust, you know, it'll allow you to attract more people that are worth trusting as well, because you kind of attract who you are, if that makes sense.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm nobody to judge anybody else's character or anything, but like you have to know within yourself if you are trustworthy or not. And it's not even just about secrets or you know, things like that. It's more so like, are you reliable as well? Are you a credible person? You know, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. Like if you cried wolf so many times, eventually, even if it is real, the last time you cry wolf, if I've known you as a liar before, it's not going to make a difference, right? So that's kind of where your credibility comes in. Your patterns building up over time, the interactions I've had with you, and am I seeing, like, are your stories real, you know, your situations, and even, yeah, going as deep as secrets, like, can I trust you with the secret, and vice versa, like, am I trustworthy with somebody's secret? If somebody genuinely tells me, don't tell anybody else, I mean, who am I to tell? That's not my business, you know, and that's something that, of course, we all have to work on, you know. I was definitely that person where it's like, well, if I tell, you know, so and so, they're not going to tell anybody else. But it's like that sucks, because that doesn't make me a trustworthy person.
Damn, that's true. And it even goes with like business partnerships. Can I trust you with my next plot? If we're building something together, can we build this together? Is there like a foundation between that? Like if we say this is a script we're gonna do, are we gonna stick to it? I feel like it goes hand in hand, and I think we have to be mindful of all the different areas of our life where trust comes in handy, because there's like times you don't even notice it and it just kind of happens. So watch out for that.
For sure. And I think also, it's like, oh, well, trust this, trust that, trust blah, 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 and all this stuff, the definitions. But how do you actually know if someone is trustworthy, or, how can you see that? So I think there's obviously no clear-cut way to know, but like I was going, into it before, for me, it's about the habits, it's about the previous interactions, like just what does your reputation say about you, because at the end of the day, your vibe, your aura, your reputation speaks before you do. If I've already known that you have like a loose mouth, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be trusting you, even with my business, with, any finances, nothing like that, because you already carry that with you. Now, I'm not saying somebody can't change. I'm not saying, people don't get better and stuff, but again, for me, that's just my personal opinion, that your habits speak for you.
Yeah, because I've met new friends and they didn't tell me Wooty-Woo's business, this, and I'm like, I don't have to tell you nothing about me, because I don't even know that person, and I already know like their whole life story through your mouth,
Right.
So it's like you really got to be mindful. Sometimes people like tell them they self, and that shows. And another thing, have standards for who you trust. Like me and Jen always talk about this: keep your circle small. It's nothing wrong with having a nice quality circle. We're in this time where we think, we have this notion of popularity. Like you can still be popular, know all these people, doesn't mean you have to trust every single person. Because you got people who only come around because you popping, because they want to see what they could leech off of. Some people just come around just so they can know more about you, to expose you, whatever it is. But it's nothing wrong with like having all these associates, but then having your main group that you trust.
For sure. And I think even with your main group, like using your intuition on who in that main group you're going to trust. Because even in that main group, not everybody has to know every single thing about you, or you can trust different people with different parts of your life, different things like that, and whatever. And I think that's okay. And I think that's part of the standards as well, like having friends who you only go to for certain situations, and friends who you go to for others, and also just the standards of like that intuition being your guide. Sometimes when somebody's grimy, when they don't have your best interest in mind, they're snakes, right? And I think we need to be listening to that. I think most of the time we're so quick to give people benefit of the doubt, but some people really don't deserve it. And that's like something that's so cutthroat, and I'm sorry to say it like that, but it's true. Like I've been betrayed by people I've considered good friends before, and everything, and it doesn't feel right. Like it's not, it feels like a slap in the face when you've trusted somebody with a secret, or your next move or whatever, and then they one up you, or they backstab you, or whatever, in a like not even in a healthy way for the one up you. It's more so like taking your idea from you or whatever. So again, just using that intuition and just realizing like who the fuck to keep out of your circle, and then even in your circle, like who can you trust with certain things.
And I'm gonna say too, with those sneaky people, like you got people who do little sneaky shit. I feel like I'm good at peeping that, because I let people talk. Let a person talk. Let them say, like I feel like if someone has to explain themselves without you asking, that right there is like a red flag. That has happened to me. Like, I've had a friendship where I peeped some shit out, and the friend that I was feeling weird about caught they self like explaining to me that they weren't doing something, but I didn't ask. And it's like, why do you feel like you have to tell me that? And I think that right there is like, I ain't fucking with you. Like, so you have to be mindful of that, because people are usually telling themselves, and they try so hard to seem innocent, but literally the lie is right on their face. Like, I'll just be real with that.
Yeah. A person who got to keep talking, and then they're chasing their own tail. Yeah, those are the ones you got to watch out for, because they feel like they got to over-explain everything. And I think it's okay too, like if you realize you can't trust this person, it's okay if those standards with them change. It's okay if you decide you no longer want to fuck with them in that way. It doesn't mean you don't have to be friends with them. It just means, there's certain things I can't tell you no more. Maybe you're just somebody I hang out with on the weekends. We have fun together, whatever, but it doesn't mean we can have like deep, meaningful life conversations together or anything like that. But again, it's all up to you what you decide to do. I think like when I was younger, I trusted this girl. This is silly and obviously something I told you before.
Example, go ahead.
But yeah, like I had a crush on this guy, and she knew. We were young, like pre high school days, whatever. And I had told her, and I was like, seeking advice. What should I do? Should I tell him? And she was like, no, don't tell him anything. Just stay quiet. Like, if he likes you, he'll do something, which she's true. She was right about that, but I just didn't like how she knew I liked him. And then like a week later, I found out they were together. So like, I just found it messy, if you liked him, you should have told me, because I trusted you enough with my secret on, I had a crush on him, and I even asked you for advice. If I had known that she liked him as well, she could have said something, and I would have definitely backed off. I would have been like, all right, and at the end of the day, obviously he didn't like me, he didn't choose me, but it's just her actions that made me change my standards towards her. I never told her any secret of mine ever again. I decided, you know what, I don't need a friend like this anyway, because if she's messy like this with something that may seem so small, I can't even imagine what else she might be messy about. She might be talking about me behind my back, making fun of me, for liking this guy, thinking he liked me back and all this stuff. Obviously something I'm over now, like it's not a big deal, but just an example that I've carried with me, because it was really one of the first times I felt betrayed by a friend, and somebody that I actually trusted like that, and then she was the main one to just betray me in the back.
Oh. And that's the thing too. Some people will take advantage of how much you trust them so they can get a better aim towards your back.
That's right.
So we just got to be extremely mindful of that. And going back off the last topic we were saying, with like how to fuck with somebody. Yeah, literally set those boundaries. Like, yeah, like Jen saying, this is the person I can go out with. This person who's going to know everything. Some people get pushed down to the list. That's on you. You have full access to me now. You see me when I want to see you, or you're gonna know things about me when the world finds out, and it is what it is. I've been backstabbed too by a couple people, and it's not fun, but it's like I got to the point where I'm like, if I can't trust you, I don't even want you near me, at this point, because it's like one thing I learned about myself with relationships, friendships, romantically, family. I'm very I don't half-ass shit. Like if I fuck with you, I fuck with you on a deep level. So I'm like, I know that. So it's like, it's hard for me to have like that friend that I'm kind of friends with and things like that. I just rather not be friends with you, because if you're my friend, we were going to be able to have those intimate conversations. We're going to be real close. I'm going to do all kind of things for you because I love you and stuff. So I'm like, I can't do the half-assed relationship. So that's just my personal. But if you have people where they got to be in your life and you don't fully trust them, just know when and what to say. Another thing we want to talk about too is learning how to trust yourself. In the day, we know our strengths, we know our weaknesses. So if you're trying to break a bad habit, can you trust yourself being near people who do those habits that you're trying to break? You got to really dig deep into yourself, because that's another thing. When we don't trust ourselves, or we overly trust ourselves when we're not in the right mind space, head space to break away, that's how we can go into a relapse of something that we're trying to get away from.
Definitely very true. I mean, you have to know how far your willpower is going to take you, and having that willpower to, like Vernisa said, break those bad habits and stuff. It requires that trust. Like, I can do this. I know that I'm going to come out on top. And also trusting yourself enough to know when not to fuck with certain people, or when to break that bad habit. When are these things going to start or stop happening? And I think it really starts within ourselves, like knowing to trust that I'm strong enough to do this. I am credible enough to move on from this or be better than this. If you are someone who has betrayed someone, because nobody's perfect, I'm not saying I've never betrayed anybody, of course not, but it's something I've been working on as well. And of course I carried that guilt, but I also trusted myself enough to know that I'm going to be better than this, and I know what I need to do, and I'm going to start doing it. Obviously it's not easy. It's something that you have to really kind of admit to yourself, and it sucks, admitting to yourself you are the shitty friend, or the one who betrayed or whatever. But I think once you start that, you're starting to build that trust within yourself.
Oh, beautifully said. And I think that building your trust with self starts with that self-reflection. Like say, you did betray somebody. Sit with yourself and wonder, why am I being like this? Sometimes you were probably raised in that type of environment, and like to where people talk to you fucked up, so you just naturally do that because that's all you know. So sometimes we really got to dig deep and see what is the issue, because I really believe it can be fixed, whatever it is. And then I feel like the more you become trustworthy, you'll be able to trust yourself, and then you'll be better in your relationships, with whether it is romantically, friendship wise, or family wise. So I think that's really big. And then what's the big question? Should we trust again? I don't know. It's hard for me. We used to answer that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it depends on what happened, of course, and what it ties to. But I don't know. I feel like I'm more on the forgiveness side only. I'm like, once it's broken, it's broken. Maybe that's Aquarius in us. What's that? What is it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like you said, we've answered this question before, and it really depends on why I don't trust this person. Like, just going off to that example that I used earlier, I didn't trust again. I didn't trust her again. It doesn't mean I never trusted anybody, but just her specifically. So maybe just looking at it that way, like, yes, I forgive you. You did what you did. You said what you said, but I can't fuck with you like that. Now, I know there's people who have worked on relationships, maybe a partner cheated or lied to you about something and you're debating whether to trust them again. I'm just saying, take a look at your own life with them. Or is your life better with them in it? Do you feel like you can move on without them? Just asking your own self these questions. This isn't something that you should take advice from us directly on, because everybody's different. I have seen people change to become better for their relationships after they've cheated and stuff, and they've made it work and everything. So of course, do what you can. I mean, with friendships, I feel like it's a little different, because when you betray a friend, like that's hard, but again, take it with a grain of salt. What we're saying, this is just us saying it's really hard for us to trust again. But I've never been in that situation of having to be with someone again after they cheated on me. For me, it's just been like, all right, well, I'm out. I forgive you, but I can't be with you anymore.
And now me and Jen do not want to ignore the effects of betrayal, because when somebody cuts you, that stuff be cutting deep. I feel like betrayal, it could cause insecurities. It could cause you to want to go betray somebody because you're so mad, or it could cause you to want to go seek revenge, So I feel like these are things that happen when people get betrayed. So, we want to work through that too, of like how to not let, just because someone betrayed you, that's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of them. In a day, that's an inner problem they're dealing with. That's something with them. I feel like don't let that affect your character, the love you have to give. If you have a genuine heart, do not let that affect you. I'm speaking from experience, because there's plenty of times I've been betrayed. I could have went there, and swooped to their level. But guess what? I know that that's not where I'm at. You know what I mean? So I feel like, and you know what? Looking back, like now that I'm healed from certain things that have happened to me, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't swoop to their level. I would have put myself in a digger hole, brought more pain to myself swooping to their level, instead allow myself to heal and just level up even more. I'm like, okay, and that's on them. They still where they are. And guess what? People will be pissed off that they betrayed you and you didn't do shit. Like you didn't. I'm not saying don't defend yourself, but that'll really make them feel like shit when you like just move on, because you ain't super to their level. Misery loves company, and you don't have to really pick your battles and when and what to give energy to.
Exactly. I mean, we've emphasized that so many times, so I hope y'all were listening to that part specifically, because there are detrimental effects of betrayal. Obviously your mental health can get affected, your self-confidence even, like dang, you could even be questioning yourself, like what did I do? It's never about you. This person felt the need to betray you for whatever reason, whatever demons they got inside, whatever insecurities they're fighting for, and you just happen to be the perfect prey for that, but also keeping in mind that honestly, like, not everybody's gonna have your back, not everybody's gonna try to be genuine about it and everything, and really you realizing that just because I'm forgiving you, it doesn't mean I'm giving you that power. On the contrary, I'm getting my power back. Yes. I'm no longer letting your presence affect me, much less your absence. Like, once you out of my life, that's good. I don't need you. I don't want to be with you. And I think it's so much better when, yes, you pick your battles and you decide, how far am I willing to let this betrayal affect me? Am I going to react by also betraying this person, or am I going to react by working on myself, learning my lesson, and moving the fuck on? Honestly, I always opt for the latter, even though as much as the Aquarius petty side of me wants to react and tell them some shit about themselves, that ain't my job, that ain't my problem no more either. So honestly, all I can do is just move on, worry about myself, and learn and get the fuck out of that situation.
I feel like Jen just listed the healthy ways to recover from betrayal: moving on, setting boundaries, not swooping to their level, forgiving, loving yourself even more, yes. And attracting better people. Like, okay, it happens, life happens. I feel like we can't stop that sometimes, especially when you have a big heart. You're gonna give people the benefit of the doubt, but when it happens, people, that person shows you their true colors. Yes. What are you gonna do? My mom always said, never ignore when a person shows you their true colors. So I feel like those are like healthy ways to like cope cope from that when it does happen to you, if it happens.
Absolutely. I mean, I think another big question is asking yourself, how do you feel?
How do you feel?
Whether it's around this person or after interacting with them, I think these are things that we can't ignore, because again, our intuition doesn't lie, energy doesn't lie. So if you feel like you can't trust this person, or after they betray you, you really can't fuck with them again, maybe that's something you need to pay attention to. It may not always be the easiest thing, and maybe we're like, oh, but they're a family member, I gotta trust them and stuff. No. At the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, am I comfortable around this person? Do I feel safe around this person? Do I trust this person? Really ask yourself these questions. Do I trust myself around this person too? Because also the part of forgiveness is sometimes we start romanticizing like the past, and it's like, oh, well, it wasn't that bad. We could get over it, blah, blah. That may be so, but not everybody's willing to change. Not everybody deserves that second chance. So you need to ask yourself, how do I feel? Am I going to be able to move on from this when I'm around this person?
And another thing important about asking yourself, how do you really feel? You're allowing yourself to not ignore how you feel, because when we ignore, like, oh, I'm good, push it to the side, guess what? You're taking that same pain to your next situations, whoever you meet, because you've been betrayed before, so you're just going to be angry, like, oh, I've been betrayed, just going to be holding on to it. But if you really take the time to go through it, I think that song.
I was just going to say that.
Shout out to Boosie.
I've been betrayed.
For real, no, that's all real. Oh my goodness. But yeah, you're going to be holding on to that, and then it's going to just follow you wherever you go. So I feel like when you allow yourself to work through it, take a break, really figure out, and then really think about what that person meant to you too. Because I feel like we try to just cut off all the feelings, like that person wasn't a factor in our life. And I feel like you have to acknowledge all those feelings to fully heal from that betrayal.
Can we just pause for a moment and talk about normalizing reflection on your feelings? Please.
Hey, girl.
And I think this is perfect because we're going to talk about how it relates to self-love. And this is the perfect segue into it. Like, we need to stop acting like hard asses, like this shit don't affect us, like, nah, I'm good, fuck that person, blah, 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 and all this shit. Okay, that's angry you, how that feels. Anger is a valid emotion too. Yeah, that's fine. Anger gets the action moving. Maybe it helps you realize that you do need to move on. But at the end of the day, it is not acknowledging the problem inside. It is not acknowledging that you still had some other type of emotions. I don't give a fuck what gender you do not identify with. You have emotions. You are a human being, so you have something happening inside of you when you are betrayed. I don't care. You're the president of the United States. You are 5 years old. You feel betrayal at all levels. So you need to really sit down. Well, I don't know if 5-year-olds can sit down and reflect. But, you need to, if you are conscious enough to realize that you have these emotions, you need to sit down and really reflect and allow yourself to feel these emotions. We need to normalize feeling that shit, because that is the only way we are going to be able to move on. That is the only way we're not going to be bleeding on other people and blaming everybody, singing trust issues. Like, it's a good song, but it's not a good ideology to be walking around with. We have emotions. This goes to most of the men that I've dated. Like, y'all have emotions. You need to realize that shit too.
Damn. You said it. Mic drop. No, it's true. And I think it relates to self-love too, because trust is very powerful. So I feel like you're taking more charge of your life when you decide who to give that energy to, and like you said, now walking around with the whole normalizing trust issues. I feel like we just yell, I got trust issues every day, every relationship. I got trust issues. I got trust issues. You just sound broken, and you're going to continue being like that, because I'm sorry, in this life, you have to trust somebody with your heart, something with something. Like, I feel like, and that's the thing with life, people are going to disappoint you, but it's about loving yourself enough to where when someone does betray you or hurt you, you know how to bounce the fuck back and know not to fuck with them. Love yourself enough to get your shit and get the fuck on. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's just what me and her want to touch on, because this life isn't perfect. People are going to hurt you, even the closest people to you. You might be the smallest thing, might be the biggest thing. Regardless, it hurts. But how do you react to pain when it does happen? Oh shit.
Let that marinate, y'all, honestly, because I've been guilty of that too. I've been guilty of having those trust issues, and just thinking like, fuck them, I didn't even give a shit about them. No, betrayal hurts. That shit fucking hurt. And it's okay to admit that. And I think that's one of the biggest things I learned about self-love, is to really allow the negative emotions to sit there and recognize that I actually had those negative emotions. I can't be a positive person all the time. So sitting with that and realizing, you know what, my trust was broken with this person. It's okay to admit that shit to yourself. We cannot anyway, I'm about to get into a whole other rant.
Woo!
But yeah, like, we need to allow ourselves to feel that shit, because when we do that, we're starting to realize, all right, well, what can I do to feel better? You know, it's not about making that person pay. It's not about making them realize that they did me wrong and look, I'm the bad bitch and blah, 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 and all this shit. I mean, you are, hype yourself up. But at the end of the day, too, don't let that betrayal be your reason to keep going. Let whatever lesson you learn from that betrayal. There's a big ass difference. If you let your trust issues guide you, like Vernisa said, you're gonna have to trust somebody, so you're never gonna have a healthy relationship. You're just gonna continue having that wall up and fuck everybody. I don't got real. This is the problem. This is why we don't have real relationships no more. Nobody wants to trust nobody because we think we're all the same. We're not.
Woo! She snapped today. I want to say too, don't let betrayal either affect your new relationships. I am completely guilty. I've been scarred before, and I had to catch myself because, you know, going back into like the dating realm, you know, meeting people, getting to know people, I really realized how big that scar really was and how much I was still holding on to it. You know, one of my homegirls told me, she said, sometimes when you're single for so long, you don't realize how hurt you still are. So it's like, I feel like that happens to us. Like, we'll get betrayed, right? And we'll take that time to ourselves. And then when we're back in the dating world or whatever, getting to know different people, those scars come right back up, and you're wondering why, but it's because we haven't fully worked through them. And it's like I said, you're going to be betrayed, but do not let that bleed onto the new relationship. Like Jen said, not everybody is the same. You know what I mean? Give everybody a new piece of paper. Like, okay, I'm gonna give this person a whole new checklist and see. Once they fuck up, okay, I'm done.
Right.
But let that person mess it up for themselves. Don't. Because I'm guilty of this. I overthink everything. I'll play little scenarios thinking they're already going to do something. And guess what? What are you doing? You're putting yourself through that same shit multiple times. They didn't even do nothing yet. And guess what? You're already leading the direction. And guess what? You're thinking negative. So I think we're always manifesting when we think. If you're constantly thinking negative, it's probably going to turn out that way, because that's literally where your mind is the whole time.
Seriously. I mean, I think, girl, you just hit that this is you. You know, this is what's going on in your head.
Yep.
So we need to realize that this is all us. Again, just like somebody who betrayed you, that's a reflection of them. You having those trust issues, that's a reflection of you. Don't get me wrong. It's valid that you got hurt. It's valid that you felt betrayed. But by that person, not anybody else who's coming in, not the new relationship, the new person who's trying to make you happy or whatever. Again, like Vernisa said, let them fuck it up if that's how it's going to be. But not everybody is out to get you. Not everybody's willing to betray you. And we need to really get that clearly cut and ingrained, tatted in our heads. Not everybody is out to get me. And I think, again, that's something I had to learn too, because I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm just not going to trust men or people in general and blah, blah, blah. And all. What was that doing for me? That was just creating me, first of all, not learning how deep I can love somebody or deep I can trust somebody again. But then also just not allowing me to get to know that person. And then I'm just comparing them to, you know, so-and-so who hurt me in the past because they have, you know, something here or whatever. No, this is a brand new person. And if they haven't fucked up yet, why am I so desperate to see them fuck up? That's not cool.
That's so true. I feel like it gives us an excuse not to heal, because we're like just gonna hold this sign up the whole time. And you know, and I love that me and Jen do this, because these episodes are healing for us. This is actually us talking through things we're battling in our day-to-day life, you know. So I want to make that very clear. And I want to say too, if you're the person who did the betraying, don't expect that person to trust you again. We got to talk from both sides. Like, it might happen, it might not, but you got to be okay with that, because in the day we have to be responsible for the consequences. We got to take accountability. Like, you fucked up, but you know, give that person time. Like, maybe, like I said, let's say there is a chance, they still need time to heal and to process it and to trust you again. And that trust isn't going to come overnight. Something like let's talk about relations for a second. You see people all the time, like, whatever, the dude cheated, he gets back with the girl. Now the girl has some trust issues towards her. Of course she's going to be like checking your phone, you know, worried if you're about to leave. You can't expect her to snap and things are back to normal exactly the way it was. You scarred her, or you scarred him, whoever it is. So it's going to take some time. So I feel like we have to be patient with that too, with the person that we betrayed, especially if they're giving us another chance. It's not never just like Jen said with the broken glass. It's never going to go back to the way it was. It may get a little better, but it's going to take time. But you have to give that person time to work through it, and you just do your best to show them that you changed, to love them better and to grow. And then who knows, it might eventually, but that's all I'm gonna say for people who do end up, you know, taking somebody back or whatever, it's going to take time.
But don't hold that hope up if it doesn't happen. Again, that a relationship is a two-way street. So you can be doing everything you can to try and repair it, and that's valid, that's cool, you know, you change, do what you got to do. But if that, like Vernisa said, if that person doesn't ever trust you again, oh well. Sometimes we got to live with that fact. Again, it's a part of growing up. It's a part of taking that accountability, realizing we make mistakes, but we don't always get what we want in life. And I think that's real. And when we keep that into mind, maybe that'll keep our asses from betraying other people, you know, because that's hard also. You know, this is mainly going towards cheaters and stuff, but still, in general, like if you've ever betrayed anybody and you did it with malintentions, like, you know, maybe this is your lesson to learn, that you can't just fuck with somebody and they take you back like that or nothing. You know, and I think also on the flip side of that, if we're the ones dealing with somebody who has trust issues, you know, maybe we are the ones who betrayed them, you know, or we're the new person coming to this person who's been betrayed before. We need to have that patience, like how Vernisa was saying, you know, have grace with them and realize that they're gonna have those moments where maybe they accuse us of something, some sort of trigger or something. And if we're deciding that person's someone we want to fight for and everything, we gotta be strong enough to handle that shit, because trust issues are no joke. If any of y'all have ever suffered from that, you know, right? So being on the other side of that, where you're dealing with the person who has it, you have to be strong enough to handle that shit and realize that maybe they're not intentionally trying to hurt you back or anything like that. It's like healing that they have to do, but you also signed yourself up for that. You're deciding what you're willing to put up with. So, you know, having that patience and realizing that it may take some time, and how much are you willing to fight for this person?
Yeah, and going off what Jen said, if you're the new person, like if you're the person who didn't betray them, but they're still messed up about it, figure out how you can assist them. Like, you know, what can I do so you can trust me, or so it's not triggering to whatever, you know, things like that. I feel like there's nothing wrong with having those healthy discussions. Me and Jen talk a lot about communication, you know, because maybe when the person explains how they were hurt, where does it hurt, things like that, you're able to move forward in a healthier way. Now, we're not saying, like sit around and let someone just treat you, you know, act toxic because they're hurt. Maybe they need some time alone still, you know, and that's okay to accept that too. But I'd rather that than the person bleeding on you. But, you know, it's really about how deep the connection is and what you're willing to put up with, like Jen said. Exactly,
yeah. And, you know, I think you were hitting perfectly on having those healthy discussions, really sitting down with the person and trying to figure out what's going on. You know, maybe even asking their story if that's something you're willing to open up to, if they're willing to open up to as well. But really just sitting down and like trying to figure out how can we move forward in a healthy manner. And like Vernisa said, maybe y'all both need time alone, you know, to really figure things out, because it's not going to be easy. It's not going to happen overnight. And even if, you know, things do start getting worked out, those triggers are still always going to be there. So just communication goes a really long way. We've always said this, and yes, actions speak louder than words, but the words still need to be said at some point. And I think that's where people miss out on that, having those hard conversations. This shit is not easy. Trying to figure out why somebody is the way they are and who betrayed them, you know, and what kind of hurt are they carrying in their heart. That shit is not easy. Nobody wants to sit down and talk about that. You know, you want to have the happy part, the lovey-dovey part, whatever, you know, the growing together part. But part of that growing is that hurt, is having those hard conversations.
Yeah, don't wear that pain on your sleeve. And always ask yourself, is
the tea real?
We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank y'all for tapping in. Check us out on Instagram at SpeakUpJV. We're also on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, SpeakUpJV.podbean.com. Also, you can catch us on iHeartRadio. And what else, Jen?
We also have a Twitter.
Right. Oh, tweet us. Check us out on Twitter at SpeakUpJV. Y'all can send us if y'all want us to talk about something. We'll start tweeting some more like quotes and stuff. And what else?
You know, but if you definitely want to catch more of us, we are live every Thursday, 7 p.m. Check us out. Download the app from @TheGoodNewsRadio. That is their Instagram.
And you guys can also now engage with us. Go into the live chat. Y'all could call in. So please, y'all, you guys don't want to miss that. Check us out live and unfiltered. But we hope y'all have a great one.
Bye, y'all.